Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we have some news. We had huge Mythic Plus tuning earlier in the day from when I'm making this video, and I believe even earlier in the day we had some BFA corruption returning news. So we're going to go over the Mythic Plus news first, the hot fixes here, and then we're going to talk about the corruptions returning in the 0.5 patch, so 11.1.5. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we'll run through here. We'll go through these class fixes real quick since they're right here. Druid, Pharaoh, brutal slash damage reduced by 60% in bear form. Druid of the Claw, wild power surge increases the damage of your next swipe or brutal slash in bear form by 300%. So it's like feral changes, but while you're in bear form. Some paladin changes as well. Fixed an issue causing Blessing of Dust to incorrectly grant cooldown reduction to Eye of Tyr. So I believe that's is that protection or holy? I pretty much only play rat. Fixed an issue causing divine purpose and Tyrion's devotion to grant too much cooldown reduction to lay on hands. And fixed an issue, so just some bug fixes, preventing some dungeon bosses from being able to hit by Blessed Hammer. So that actually does affect me. Side Street Sluice added a requirement to defeat Dark Fused Goblins and the variant to destroy enchanted gold piles. Yeah, that was an interesting one because I was just skipping around to the gold piles. It was actually really fast to do it that way, but there we go. So now let's get to the actual dungeon changes here. Mythic Keystones no longer unintentionally drop Siege of Paralysis. Okay, good enough. Player deaths no longer affect Mythic Plus timer on 2 and 3s. That's good. Corrected an issue that caused the time targets used for rating calculation and achievement for several Mythic Plus dungeons to differ from the correct values visible in the game UI. This may cause one-time slight changes to Mythic Plus rating, as ratings are recalculated using the accurate times. Yeah, I had this really weird thing where I had a +5 timed key that was giving me more score than a +6 timed key. Both of them were timed. The 5 was timed a little bit faster, of course, because it was a key level lower. But yeah, it was weird. Okay, so today we've broadly reduced the difficulty of Mythic Plus dungeons. It's a result of the following changes. All enemy health and damage has been reduced by 10% across Mythic Plus dungeon difficulties, plus both Mythic 0 and Mythic Plus. So just a 10% nerf to dungeons, which was crazy. So this actually happened while I was doing dungeons today. I don't even remember what dungeon it was. But we went to a Floodgate 9, I believe. Let me see. It was like a Floodgate 9 after doing a different dungeon. Was it Floodgate? Yeah. Floodgate plus 9 after doing a different dungeon. It was just like so much easier. And we're like, holy crap. So that's a huge 10% nerf. We'll talk about what I think they're trying to do there. So it says Cinderbrew Meadery. Rowdy Patrons, Rowdy Yell damage reduced by 33%. This was huge. Spouting Stout damage reduced by 33%. Brew Drop health reduced by 18%. Movement speed reduced by 14%. Just big, not a lot of nerfs there, but big nerfs. Dark Flame Cleft addressed an issue where old Waxbeard's Reckless Charge can be canceled when the target line of sight. So this was the line of sighting behind the pillar thing. This actually, again, they might have did this while we were in a Dark Flame Cleft earlier today. It was actually kind of crazy, so they fixed that. Old Waxbeard's Rider melee damage reduced by 42%. Wandering Candle Surging Flame is now removed when Wandering Candle's death. The Motherlode Crawler Mine's health reduced by 30% and speed reduced by 29% randomly. Which is just gets rid of some annoyance. Off-duty laborers throw wrench damage reduced by 66%. So these things, I don't know if you ever got hit by these as a non-tank, but these things like just almost one-shot you randomly. Coin-operated crowd pummelers, foot bomb blazing, Azerites increased to subsequent timed explosion reduced by 40%. What a mouthful. Yeah, that's a big coin-operated crowd pummelers, Phosphor blazing Azerite. That's a long name of NPC plus ability. Reduced by 40%. So it sounds like actually that might be a slight buff to the boss because Azure increase subsequent time to explosion. Yeah, so it's not, you don't get as much time. You can't milk the bombs as much. It's more beneficial just to kick the bombs in, it sounds like. Azure Extractor's rapid extraction group wide damage reduced by 25%, which is good. These things do a ton of damage. The missile damage is reduced. Razdunk's Gatling gun damage reduced by 50%. I already didn't think it was that strong. So now this Gatling gun, I mean, if you get hit by a tick of Gatling gun, you're pretty much going to be fine. Which also means that you, especially if you have a cooldown, you could probably just run through it, right? You don't have to. It'll save you a lot of downtime if you just run through it. If you're melee, it's not a big deal. Operation Floodgate. So I've only done this dungeon one time on Mythic Plus. It was at +9. Reduce the speed of waves created by Awaken the Swamp by 25%. The movement force applied reduced by 17%. Okay, so my guildmates are explaining this boss to be very this mechanic to be very deadly. And then while I was in there, it wasn't very deadly, so it must have been post nerf. Dark Fuse Shredder pilots no longer available to melee. Kinetic Explosive Gel now permanent 12-second duration. Increase the cooldown and surprise inspection on Dark Fuse inspectors by 2 seconds. Okay. Reduce the distance of Bubble Burp targeting to 60 yards. It was 100, so you can outrange it now, in theory. Reduce the physical damage portion of Sludge Claws by 13%. This might actually be so it doesn't get somebody running back, actually. Sludge Claws by 13%. Increase the cast time of Mudslide by 3.5 seconds. It was 3. Reduce the physical damage of Thunder Punch by 15%. And reduce the damage of Turbo Bolt by 30%. All I know is I ran this dungeon one time on Mythic Plus. It was a +9, and it was pretty dang easy. Operation Mechagon Workshop. Addressed a bug preventing this dungeon from giving Great Vault credits. That's good. Anti-personnel Squirrel's health reduced by 93% and can now be attacked. Machinist Garden's Hidden Flame Cannon now has a precast visual. That's very good. That's very helpful, especially at a group full of melee. Prior to the Sacred Flame, Dalcry's health reduced by 11%. Dalcry's Priest Armor damage bleed reduced by 25%. Dalcry's Savage Mauling Emberstorm now have a 5-second shared cooldown. It was a 3 seconds. Captain Dalcry Savage Mauling now ignores targets that have been hit by it within the last 35 seconds if there are other available targets. Yeah, in my priory that I think multiple priories actually that I ran, I just keep getting mauled every time. It's crazy. You can just get mauled like 3 times in a row. High Priest Amos health reduced by 10%. Guard Captain Sukume health reduced. Guard Captain Sukume health by 30%. It doesn't say reduced, but I assume it's reduced. Forge Master's health reduced. Heat Wave damage reduced. Elena Emberland's health reduced. Just so many nerfs to Priory. Tanner Dualmaul's health reduced. Sergeant Shaymail's health reduced. Added effect mechanic snare to Castigator's shield so it can be removed with snare removals. Prioress Murpray? I didn't know that was the name. Prioress Murpray now has initial cooldown of 3 seconds on Holy Smite, and now clears her energy upon transitioning to phase 2. So that's the final boss. The Rookery, just tons of nerfs to Priory, by the way, on top of the 10% flat. The Rookery, just an issue where Curios can fail to use its abilities. Okay, bug fix. Theater of Pain, addressed an issue where sudden demise can kill players during Zab the Fallen's Blood and Glory. Just a bug fix. Liberation of Underground, Mugsy fix, and then we will move on to talk about the corruptions. Fixed an issue that delayed Mugsy from entering intermission while casting other abilities. Glacio goons now lock their facing direction while casting Pay Respects. That's good. Updated the spawning visuals of Unstable Crawler Mines to be more readable alongside the visuals of Unstable Cluster Bomb. Yes. So I didn't notice this fix tonight when we were doing Heroic Mugsy, but if they did do a fix, it still is pretty similar in my opinion on that bomb thing, but not similar enough that I can't see, but we definitely had some people struggling with that. All right, so what I think that they did this for a reason. So the 10% flat nerf plus these individual changes just kind of needed to happen, but the 10% flat nerf, I think this is what's happening. I think there's a duality here. Blizzard wants people to slowly progress through keys throughout the season, get a little bit of a power buff in the 0.5 patch, get a little bit of a power buff in the 0.7 patch, and slowly progress the keys up. But I think what they're realizing is that and I think they already knew this, but like when people first get a season of like a patch, right, a major patch, people just want to play a lot. I've been playing so much World of Warcraft the last few days, and I've been having a ton of fun doing it, honestly. And it's like that's what people who like the game want to do. And so people get stuck on keys too early based on because people are just pumping out keys, and they get stuck on a level too early to them, right? Even though it might be Blizzard's intended time to get stuck on a key, they're like, no, this is too early. Let us keep pumping, let us keep farming. And so I think they're always going, and that doesn't mean they're not going to go back, right? They might go back to like being like, okay, we want this to go a little bit slower. But for at least this season, what this is going to end up doing is people are going to end up pushing keys a lot higher than last season. The number will be bigger, right? Whatever the top key number was this season, it'll be higher than last season, right? That's what they're probably aiming to do here, and just letting people have a little bit more fun, which is good. That part's really, really good, but it is kind of just a letting you have more fun up front, and then you're still going to eventually hit that wall, right? But you know, at least now in the early time when you're farming gear and stuff, it'll be a little bit easier for you. So that's really good. So that's what I think's happening here. But overall, these are great changes. I think most of the dungeons felt fair even before this. Personally, I didn't think anything felt too unfair. There's a couple things that I can't even think of right now, but pretty fair. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about the corruption stuff. So if you're still here or if you skipped forward to talk about the corruption stuff. So basically, they are bringing corruptions back as enchants to weapons. So the Void one, Echoing Void, Gushing Wound, I remember the Bleed, Infinite Stars, Twilight Dev, Twisted Appendage, Void Ritual. So there's no information about these yet, but these are going to be like enchants, right? To your weapon. Permanently enchants a weapon. Permanently enchants a weapon. Here's the thing. They are going to have to tune these, right? This could be really, really cool and really, really fun. But, and somebody, I've seen people bring this up, and even my own guildmates have brought this up, that, you know, it might be a thing where you have to like switch weapons. Like, okay, I got to put on my weapon for bosses. I got to put on my weapon for trash, because stars is so good for single target, right? And now this was an issue back in BFA 2. You had to have different sets, right? You had to have this corruption set and this corruption set. And that can be fine. But imagine if you have a best in slots as a rep paladin or as a two-handed weapon user in general, right? It's this amazing weapon you have. And you put an enchant on it. Now you could, I guess, just buy a bunch of these enchants and just keep switching it boss to boss or whatever you're doing. But that would be ridiculous. So they're going to have to tune these to where the damage is low enough that it's not going to matter. That you're just choosing, okay, I'm going to play a single target one. I'm going to play a really strong AoE one. Or I'm going to play one that kind of does both. And you're just going to stick with it. Like, they're going to have to tune the damage down. This can't be like 10% of your damage like old Corruption was. So I hope that they're aiming for the effects. So like Twilight Devastation looks really cool, right? So I hope they're aiming for like the cool effect of it without it being completely overpowered. That's what my hope is on the corruption front, because I think it would be really cool. I love the effects of these. So as long as they're not like 10% of my damage or 5% of my damage, they're just like a weapon enchant, right? But they do cool things. And this in the future sets it up to where your weapon enchants could actually do cool things, right? And they might not have the most damage. It might still just be like 1% of your damage or something, right? But they'll look really, really cool. So I think there's a lot of positives, but we'll see. I will be very critical of this if I end up having to switch my weapons. I am not a big fan of that. So we'll see when it comes to this. I am cautiously optimistic, but I do have I am like keeping a little bit of a worried eye out on it as well. So those are some bits of news here. I haven't been able to do much this week. I've just been, all my free time, I've just been playing World of Warcraft. Like, it's crazy. Just running keys. Like, I already got like a 2200 rating. I don't even like Mythic Plus that much. And we're currently working on Muggsy Heroic. We almost killed him tonight. We would have been like the 130th guild to kill Muggsy Heroic. So we're just having a blast. Me and my guild is having a blast. It appears at least everyone's on a ton and playing a ton. So that's what I've been doing too. I haven't had time to make videos. I do keep checking, making sure there's nothing to update for Ret stuff. I have an update coming for the Delvers. If somehow, some way, the few new Delver viewers are watching this, I have an update coming with the Curios. Okay, never fear. I'm sorry that was the case, but I do have that coming. So just a little bit of touching base here and talking shop here at the end of the video. But let's just finally call this one quits. As always, I do ask you, if you stayed around this long, to please go ahead and click subscribe. It helps me out a lot. If you're already a subscriber, I encourage you to go check out the Patreon. I do plan on doing more content with that now. I was forced to get a new phone, and so this phone actually has like a decent camera and stuff. So I might like upload videos randomly and stuff to the Patreon as well a little bit more often, since I'm able to do it, and I can actually like use an app to do it and stuff. Because I had a really old phone. I'm a very cheap person, I guess you'd say. So I just used that thing until it broke. So yeah. So yep. Everybody have a good one.